Sec Lorenzana, how many troops of the Maute and ISIS are we talking about? And meron po bang nagkaroon ng lapse sa intelligence kaya nakapasok sila ng hindi undetected sa Marawi?
Alam naman natin na nandiyan sila eh. And in fact, there was this big firefight somewhere in Piagapo and sa mga mountainous dyan area surrounding Marawi City. And I don't think there is a lapse of intelligence. It's just appreciation of the intelligence that was lacking there. Baka hindi nila, akala nila, kayang-kaya, but, you know, there's intelligence there. It's just the appreciation of what the intelligence means that medyo nagkamali sila.
So it was not a lapse? There was no lapse?
Yes, lapse.
Sayang mag-ibig, pelas ng silanganan, alam ng puso, sa bibig mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng mag-ibig, sa manlulupi, di ka masisibig, sa dagat at bundok, sa simulan, sa langit mong paghaw, may dilang ang tula at awis sa pagyayang minamahal, ang kislap ng matawag, ngunit tagumpay na nagdigindig. Ang bituin at araw niya may nagpangay di magdidilig. Lupa ng araw ng walhabit ang sinta, buhay langit sa piling mo. Aming hidaya na pag may mataapit, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Sir, there are reports that the palace knew of the Marawi plot even before the attack. So there are questions why it has reached to this level. Bakit po hindi napigilan agad ng government? And also AFP had several intel reports na nandun na si Hapilon in Marawi, April and May. The palace knew of the Marawi plot.
There were
ahead of the
details regarding the plot, yes, and that is exactly why they took advantage. They started to take action. So, and you know, we need to understand also that the perception that it was well, we need to also take note of the fact that the early action of the military and the government has actually preempted their plans to be able to capture the city. So we need to credit that. Yes, there were intel, but it was something that had to be vetted and to be authorized properly. Thank you. Next.
So, sir, wait. Sorry.
Yes.
Are you saying that the situation could be worse?
Apparently, you know, but were it not for the early and decisive action of the military, then it could have been worse.
Sir, just want to ask if the scope that of information that the government had on plans to attack Marawi include yung timeline of the terrorists in attacking Marawi, and if so, sir, why during that time were all the security officials of the country, meaning the AFP Chief of Staff, the PNP Chief, NSA, Esperon, SND Lorenzana, why were they allowed to go to Russia?
They were all on top of the situation. They were actually monitoring everything, you know. So on the other hand, let's also give them credit that actually the actual action on the ground actually preempted proposed the plans. So let's give them credit. Let's give credit to the military and understand that they were actually acting purposively and decisively and actually preempted. I think the key word is preempted. Okay, so I think it's not a question of being failure or what. From their point of view, from our point of view, we were able to stop something that could have been much, much bigger.
Kasi sir, the question to the public was, if the government had information, why were all security officials out of the country during that time? When when they had information that
Yeah,
there
there's
serious
ongoing
information.
information, always ongoing information, and this is all being vetted. We're all being vetted, and so the question was and the point is that they were all informed and they were all on top of the situation.
Okay, thank you, Pia. Last question, Ina Andolong.
Related pa rin po, sir.
Opo.
But the military seem to have had a clearer idea of the supposed bigger plan of the group when they discovered yung video po. Are you saying that similar information about yung kung
No,
ano
the
rin
video
po,
was not received until during the fightings. Okay.
yes, but you're saying, I just want to clarify that even without the video, you knew about that plot
They knew that
said in the video.
they knew that there were activities on the ground, and I can only say that so far. They knew that there were activities that were that there were abnormal activities. Abnormal activities. Yes.
Meanwhile, Malacanang also revealed that the government and the military actually have had information on the planned siege of the terrorist group led by Isnilon Hapilon prior to the start of attacks in Marawi City. This information was used by the government for the military to take action immediately and in order to prevent the terrorists' much bigger plan to capture the entire city.
The early action of the military and the government has actually preempted their plans to be able to capture the city. So we need to credit that. Yes, they were intel, but it was something that had to be vetted and to be authorized properly.
Abella said should the military acted otherwise, the situation in Marawi could have been worse.
PNP Chief Director General Ronald Bato de la Rosa admits that they already had received intelligence report regarding the plans of the Maute terror group to attack Marawi City prior to President Rodrigo Duterte's trip to Russia in March. But the PNP chief clarified that they had no idea where and when the group would first execute their plans. General de la Rosa disclosed this after some of the administration's critics questioned them why the president left the country despite the prior intel report on the said terror plot.
Had we known na yung timing ngayon is the timing for their attack, siguro hindi kami sasama. Hindi namin alam na yun talagang time nila, but we know na mayroong impending na ganon. Pero hindi namin alam kung when as to the exact time, specific time.
Secretary Abella, sir, good morning.
Yes.
Sir, kung hindi ako nagkakamali, you mentioned yesterday that the palace knew beforehand yung plano ng Maute Group dun sa sasagawa ng karahasan sa Marawi City, am I right? May mga intelligence report na natanggap na. As early as April.
Come again?
As early as April.
I'm not specific about the timeline. Yes,
Ah,
but there was information. Yes.
Sir, napag-usapan ba ito sa mga cabinet meeting? Yung kung ano ang magiging aksyon ng government kung sakasakali ma-verify yung intelligence noong bago mangyari yung sa Marawi?
There were the discussion on this. It was also mentioned in the cabinet, but it was also mentioned with several people who were most closely could closely be responsible for these matters, SND, NSA, stuff like that. People like that. Yes.
Before nangyari yung atake?
Kang alin po?
Yung sa
Look,
Marawi?
the president has always been talking about the presence of ISIS-related groups in Mindanao. So that he has been talking about that for the longest time. So it's not as if it's anything strange. Yes.
Oo, kasi pero hindi ba na-specify kung pagpasok ng Ramadan nila isasagawa yung kanilang pag-atake?
Look, first and foremost, the president was aware of information. There was information coming in. The ground was the top brass. Were very, very aware of these things. However, the ones who would really fully implement these matters were going to be left to the ground commanders, right? Yes, sir. So there was knowledge. There was sufficient information. So your question is?
Kasi kung may sufficient information na mag-stage nga sila ng ganong pag-atake before Ramadan, why the top officials
Okay.
left the country.
No, there was enough, as we were earlier discussing, there was enough information. On the other hand, the top commanders did not need to be there physically present, because they were not there, they didn't have to be there to pull out guns. These matters were going to be related to ground commanders. However, there was sufficient information, and the ground commanders themselves had said, look, it's you can travel. Yes.
Sir,
may gusto akong idagdag. It was not a question of any the failure on part of government. Kasi naman tayo, we have adopted a very soft policy towards mga rebels. And this came about because nagdadala sila ng baril. And since we are thinking of getting peace with the MNLF and MI, ang laro ng armas dyan, we took it for granted. We took it really for granted na. Pero alam natin na mabibigat. Pero hinayaan kasi natin because we never knew at the time kung sino talaga ang kalaban. Yung bang mga politiko nag-aaway, nagre-redo sila, o yung mga ito private army ito ng politicians. Ngayon, kalabas-labasan, itong Maote were bringing the firearms surreptitiously at hindi natin nakuha na gaano na karami ang amo pati baril sa loob. And besides, it was not a failure of intelligence. Kasi kung makita ka sila may armas, tapos sabihin nila MIMN, ang standing order naman is, galawin, baka sakali. Papakiusapan pa natin ang mga kapatid natin. Walang gulo. But all the while, itong Maote, with the connivance of the politicians there, yung mga warlords, were stockpiling. Kaya hindi ba ubos yung M203 na bala at napakarami. Magputok ang isa ng gobyerno, dadagdagan na ibabalik sa 5. So parang endless supply when Maote rose to fight against government.
Did your visit play a role in changing or say making up your mind about asking for extension of 5 months? Because on July 11, sir, when you visited the Philippine Stock Exchange, you made a statement that you only need 15 days to resolve the crisis in Marawi. But
Yes, correct. That's even too long. I said it about a few days, 3. Hindi namin alam. And there was this failure of intelligence actually. Hindi namin alam gaano kalalim na pala. There were tunnels there and they were stocking explosives until now. It seems to be without, it's not exhausted. Hanggang ngayon sila nagtataka kung saan kinukuha. So in other words, the build-up was there for many months. Hindi ko sinasabi na I'm blaming the Maranao. I'm blaming the Maranaos who are in cahoots with the terrorists because obviously the stockpile was there for so long a time. Hindi maubusan eh. Hindi maubusan ng bala pati explosives. Now it turns out that they have plenty still. So nagkamali kami doon. Ang ibig sabihin, if that is what you want, there was a mistake in the evaluation or assessment.
Now, there are lots of talks going around that there was failure of intelligence. Yeah, in a way it was. I said we were in Moscow when this thing blew up. And I was asked by one of the media people there, was it a failure of intelligence? I said, no, it was a failure to appreciate intelligence. Because for a long time, the longest time, you were reading in the website of the ISIS in the Middle East that says, if you want to continue fighting after here in the Middle East, you go to southern Philippines. So we know that the president has warned us that the ISIS is coming. Our neighboring countries, Malaysia, Indonesia, even Singapore, has also warned us that fighters are infiltrating to the southern borders, going into southern Philippines. But for some reason, for the longest time, I think the armed forces of the Philippines were in denial of this fact. When I assumed the position as Secretary of Defense, I was told that there was no ISIS in the Philippines. So we were keeping that stand until in November, when we had this operation in Butik against the Maori groups. So then we changed our stance and said, we are there. What happened in Marawi is a lesson for every one of us in the Defense Department. We failed to appreciate the looming problem because we were trying to infiltrate from the outside towards Marawi Siege. A lot of firearms, a lot of fighters, foreign and local. When this Marawi incident blew up in May 23, I said there were only about 200 to 250 fighters. Until now, there were more than 700 at the start of the project.
Ayaw na munang pagtuunan ng pansin ng Defense Department at militar kung sino ang dapat managot sa pagbaliwala ng intel report hinggil sa planong pagpasok ng teroristang ISIS sa Mindanao. Ayon kay DND Secretary Delphine Lorenzana, binalaan na sila ng mga kalapit bansa tulad ng Malaysia, Indonesia at Singapore, subalit binaliwala ito ng militar.
We have to study first kung sino talaga ang... Kasi malaki naman yung ating intelligence organizations, and we have to find out who is siguro the period, the time of blaming somebody or pointing somebody is past that. Ito na nga nangyari. You can no longer bring back the lives of those 110 people who killed, 900 wounded, civilians, marami din namatay.
Sinabi pa ni Lorenzana na dahil sa pagbaliwala ng impormasyon ay nakapaghanda ang mga terorista gaya ng marami nilang fighters, matataas na kalibre ng baril at kung saan sila pupwesto sa Marawi.
The people on the ground monitoring the situation in Marawi before, hindi nila nakita or hindi nila na-appreciate yung mga labas-masok ng mga unfamiliar faces inside Marawi. Hindi rin nag-report yung mga tao doon sa loob. I don't know for what reason. And so, nagpatong-patong na yan eh. And that's why we have the Marawi incident.
Gayunman, sinabi ni Lorenzana na ang nangyari sa Marawi ay magsisilbing leksyon sa bawat isa upang seryosohin at i-validate ang lahat ng intel reports na natatanggap nila.
Maybe what we could do in the future is to restudy what we are doing in the intelligence sector, intelligence effort natin, so that we can be better prepared if something like this happen again.
Sa kabila nito, nais ng DND na mag-focus muna sa pagpulbos sa natitirang teroristang Maoti ISIS upang masimula na ang rehabilitasyon kesa panagutin ang pumalpak na opisyal sa hindi pag-validate ng mga intel reports.
But these fighters have been kind of holed up in the center, the commercial center of Marawi City. I mean, how are they able to withstand it for so long? How do they have enough ammunition, enough food, enough fighters?
I think they've been stockpiling these things for quite some time, maybe 6 months before, firearms, explosives, ammunition. For the food, remember that all those buildings there are homes before they were abandoned by the residents. So there must be some food there, even if they're not fresh. I think there's some food and rice or canned goods there that were stockpiled, or they could have stockpiled themselves in put them around the city, so that whenever they go, they have some food to eat.
And you yourself admitted that there was a failure of intelligence at the beginning of the Marawi siege. So what is being done to rectify this, and how can we ensure that there won't be another Marawi?
Yeah, we have been looking into our intelligence gathering effort, but more importantly is how to interpret the intelligence. Now, I said before when we were in Moscow when that this thing blew up, I said there was no failure of intelligence, but appreciation of intelligence already on hand. But it's still a failure of intelligence, because if you fail to interpret what's in your hand, then it's just a failure of knowing what least information is giving you, staring you at the face. And so that's what I meant when there is a lack of appreciation of intelligence, because there were lots of things that happened before, like our #1 intelligence officer in Marawi was killed. He had people inside working with the group, and he knew where these people were going every hour of the day, because he gets texts from these people. But these people were discovered by the Maoists. They turned him around and ambushed the officer. After that, we were blind. We were blind. So it takes some time, a lot of times actually, or long period to develop intelligence on the ground, develop assets with the enemy, develop assets in Marawi or in Lanao del Sur. So we were blindsided by the death of this major. So from then on, we actually did not know that they've been infiltrating a lot of fighters inside Marawi, bringing in explosives, ammunition, firearms, and everything there.
And for the longest time, the military and the government have been saying that these are only ISIS-inspired groups. And recently you've admitted that these are actually members of ISIS, and there is evidence of money and fighters being funneled into the country. So why did it take so long to admit that there were elements of ISIS?
Well, I think part of the reasons that the armed forces maybe did not want to accept the fact that Philippines, southern Philippines, would be one day be a part of this ISIS movement. But really, we knew that even the ISIS in Middle East have been writing in their website that if you lost Middle East and you want to continue fighting, go to southern Philippines. We know that. The president, I think he's more prescient than any of us. He said, the ISIS will be coming here. He'd been warning us since the start in Butig, sometime in October, November last year. They're coming here, they're coming here. And so he was right. He was right all along. Yeah. But for the longest time, we were in denial, actually.
And one of the methods to protect Mindanao from the threat of terrorism is the imposition of martial law, and that was recently extended till December.
December 31st, right.
But you were initially against martial law, so why was that?
I did not say I was against. In fact, I was just asked before if the problem in Marawi could be contained without martial law. I said yes, it would be. And I think some of the congressmen and senators misconstrued my answer as saying that I don't want martial law. But the president and I have been discussing martial law since the incident in Butig. And it was there when he said I might impose martial law, so prepare for that.
What were the conditions that existing at the time, that allowed the Maute group to enter and seize control of the city?
Well, I think it has been accepted by the military, no less than Secretary Lorenzana. It was more of a lapse in terms of appreciating the facts on the ground, appreciating intelligence reports. And remember, before Marawi Siege, there was also attack happened in Butig.
Yes,
the same perceived enemy, the same objective. And after Butig, a couple of months after that, they attacked the town of Piagapo. And already there were reports coming in that they are actually moving towards Marawi City. And well, the military already knew that the attack was supposed to be staged on the 26th of May, not 23.
Yes.
It was actually a premature attack because of the warrant of arrest to be served against Isnilon Hapilon. So had they been had the siege was actually done on the schedule, they could have actually take hold of the city hall and the provincial capital of Marawi, because everyone was actually in the mood for the Ramadan. And we heard that the Maute and the ASG was actually replicating the Mosul declaration in Iraq. Remember when the ISIS presented themselves to the world, they attacked Iraq in 2012 on Ramadan. So they are actually replicating that because Iraq was no longer, considered to be the center of the operation. They're moving towards the Far East. So it was more of a, I should say, it's a lack of intelligence, appreciation of the facts on the ground.
So this intelligence or this information was available to the military, but was it also available to the other stakeholders? For example,
well, we never were never informed. In fact, the composite team serving the arrest warrant is not really from a police or a military in the in Llano del Sur, in Marawi City. It was actually a composite team from other region. In fact, the mayor himself, Mayor Mahul Gandamar, was trapped when there was the initial fighting in Basak Malatlat. He was about to go to town of Wato to visit a family, and he was there in the location itself when the fighting started. So there was really no, if there was an information given to us, it would have been dwelt on, probably on without setting up a date for the Maute to attack Marawi City. Because if the mayor knew that there's going to be an attack on the 23rd, he could have called all the law enforcement authorities to deal with this problem in order to avoid the attack in his city.
What about the residents? We always talk about heightened vigilance in this age of terrorism, and we give trainings to all our to our constituents and to students, etc. But what were their responses? I mean, was there adequate or quick response when it became clear that this was no ordinary group going around parading their high-powered guns?
Well, actually, we already, all of the people in Marawi City, in the entire province, already knew that there was a group fashioning themselves after ISIS. We knew that we knew about the Multi Brothers, but it's like a phantom, they're like a phantom. You know that there's a group, but you don't actually know the individual members of this group.
Okay.
So it was more of a distant, say, for example, you feel their presence, but you don't actually know where they are. So that's why they're like phantom. They come and go. And even before the Botig attack, they were already harassing non-Maranao residents in the city. Accordingly, they even admitted to this hostilities, this harassment against non-Maranao residents in the city. So it's more of like knowing them, but not actually knowing exactly who are the members. That's why when they came out on the 23rd, everybody was really surprised. Even in the family, they never expected that one family member actually has joined the group. In our case, I give an example. There was this kid in our neighborhood who used to go to our place because his mom used to do laundry for us. And on the attack, that's the only time that we learned that this kid of 14 years old was actually joined. He has been a member of the Maute for several years, since 2011. He was recruited in 2011.
Going back to the original question, given all that you have seen and all that has happened, could it have been prevented? At least, the point of the attack on Marawi.
Well, right now, well, everybody was actually wishing, no? Sana hindi na natuloy.
Yes.
No? Sana na hindi natuloy. But again, our focus right now is moving forward. You know, it has already happened. The destruction is already there.
Okay.
So we really have to channel our energy and our focus towards reconstruction Marawi City. Yes, there's several frustrations. Even up to now coming in, sana ginawa ito, sana ito nangyari. But then again, we cannot dwell on the past. Let's move forward. You know, this is a big lesson, not only for Marawi City, but for the entire country. Because there were attempts really by overseas terror networks that they're trying to really come into the country and make Philippines as the center of their operation in Southeast Asian region.
Having seen the firepower and the staying power of the terrorists, the Maute group and their supporters, or whatever, do you think that it was really something that would last for 5 months?
Yeah, I guess it was well planned and well organized. No? That's why whenever somebody says na it's partly the blame should on the people. And for us, like, how can you expect the civilians to engage a well-financed, well-organized, well-trained armed group?
Good evening po, Secretary. Kung pwede po makahingi ng update on the crisis sa Marawi. And we know that the siege ended in October last year. Bakit po na-extend yung martial law? Curious lang po. Thank you, sir.
When yung martial law related yan doon sa Marawi, because, many people were shocked, even people from Marawi, even the Moro people. They never thought that they themselves would become victims of violent extremists. They knew them, many are members of their own clan. They know them. They knew that they were moving in firearms for a long time. They've been stocking up firearms. But when I asked the evacuees, bakit hindi nyo sinabi yan? Sir, akala namin kapwa Muslim, hindi kami bibiktimahin.